Hello friends, I am Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Business Communication and Dean of Faculty of Commerce and Management at Gurugram University, Gurugram. I am a certified management accountant from IMA USA and I am having 30 years of experience in the education and food industry. It's my privilege that I am here today this day to talk on ethical communication, and we will continue with our discussion with what we covered in part 1. This is part 2 on ethical communication. So, ethics in business communication is what we are talking. I'm going to talk about principles of ethical communication, and thereafter we will talk about that how this ethical communication in any organization can be actually seen as. So, main principle of ethical communication remains one, and that is honesty, right? Honesty is something, if your intentions are honest, you wish to communicate honestly, that actually takes care of everything. So, honesty is the key for ethical communication. That is the first and the foremost principle of ethical communication, right? So, the most reliable and factual way possible is required whenever we have to communicate something. We should be communicating in the most reliable manner, and whatever the information we are trying to share or we are supposed to be sharing, it should be as factual as possible, right? And if anyone tries to or attempts to mislead or present confusing information, it is actually not ethical. So, I should or we should consciously be careful about that. I am not sharing anything which is misleading, which is incomplete. So that remains the first and the foremost principle. In general, we say there are 4 principles of ethical communication. What are those 4 principles? The first principle is that ensuring transparency and honesty. Transparency means we are transparent, we are sharing in open, we are not trying to hide something, and all the stakeholders which are involved with any business, they know what they have right to know. It's not necessary that everyone can know everything, no. So, everyone has certain rights. Employees have right to know about the leaves, rules for leaves. Employees have right to know about the gratuity, about provident funds, about increments, about appraisals, right? But employees may not have rights to know the patent of a particular product or the design of a new particular product or the composition of a drug if it is a pharma company. So, transparent doesn't mean that everyone should be knowing everything, but transparent means all the concerned people or the parties or the organizations, whosoever is supposed to be knowing anything should be able to know that, right? That's what ensuring transparency. It's not that every information is for everyone. No, I'm not advocating that. And the honesty, of course, is, as I said, is the foremost principle. If your intentions were honest, if you clearly wanted to share honest information, and you may end up by mistake ignoring some information or mispresenting some information by mistake, even then you will be considered as an honest in your communication. Then the second principle says that this is the first. So, first principle is that approach should be transparent and honest. The second principle says that we should be knowing our audience. So, if a doctor has to communicate about, let's say, about a patient who has been diagnosed with cancer, so doctor knows that the patient and his family are from a very interior part of a small village, right? And they are uneducated people. So, if doctor says malignant, benign, all those words, a tissue, all those words, which are actually alien words to those poor, the simple people who are from the interiors, who have never studied before ever anything. So what happens here? You as a doctor are failing in your responsibility for ethical communication. You are actually failing. You may write anything, doesn't matter. When you are explaining in your verbal communication as a doctor, it is your responsibility to ensure that your audience, here the attendant and the patient both, they understand what is the disease, what is your action plan, what is your diagnosis, how you are going to deal it, how much expenditure you are expecting, how much is the life expectation for the patient, all those questions which are involved with that patient. So it's essential that you know your audience. A lawyer, for example, is not supposed to be writing legal language or speaking legal language if he or she is talking to a client. Client is not a lawyer. Client is somebody who is facing some problem. He need to fight his or her case in the court of law, and you as a advocate has a responsibility, as a lawyer has a responsibility to ensure that your client knows what you are trying to say. Don't use legal language, don't use those technical words, and if you consciously use it, sometimes a person may not have enough confidence to question you, and it happens, believe me or not. So you probably consciously wanted, and the moment you consciously wanted that your audience, your client doesn't understand you, means you are unethical. Goes without saying, right? Sometimes we do that कि हम कुछ भी बोलें और कोई समझे ना, खुदा करे ऐसा हो. So there's some song like that. So it's like that. A lawyer, a doctor, and any other technical person, an engineer dealing with a machine, with technical language, machine learning, AI, some model which a manager, a management guy may not know it. So it's very important that we understand our audience. The second principle to make an ethical communication, that you understand your audience and then you speak. You can submit a technical report to the senior management, to the if you are doing PG, postgraduate in medicine, so you are practicing, so you are doing your MD basically, and if in the departmental committee you are presenting a case and you are using technical language to the professor, absolutely fine, no problem in that. But if you are using the same language to the patient who is uneducated, and you know that he is uneducated, this is unfortunate, then it is wrong. So the same case, case of a cancer, a doctor who is an MD or young junior doctor, so junior doctor, if explaining to patient, is supposed to be using language which can be known to them, and may use technical language when he or she is presenting at the department the plan for treatment. So then it is absolutely fine. The third principle is that respecting confidentiality and privacy. So you need to respect the confidence level required in a particular communication and privacy of an individual. So you cannot be asking something which is some personal information. You cannot be sharing something which is not. So we have to respect the privacy. For example, when I was teaching in USA at Valparaiso University, there a student's performance report cannot be shared with his or her parents. Yes, यहाँ पर तो सबका रिजल्ट नोटिस बोर्ड पे लगा दिया जाता है इंडिया में, हम सब जानते हैं, और सबको पता है कि उसके कितने नंबर हैं, उसके कितने नंबर हैं. There in states, even a parents has no right for an adult child to know his or her marks. Yes, I'm right. So if I ever receive any message or communication from a parent or a guardian asking for the performance of a child, of a student, I was supposed not to share. That is the privacy of a student. So I need to respect that, right? So I need to keep his or her performance confidential, because students would say that I have no. So in the beginning they sign a form where they say that I want my results to be kept confidential, and whenever they need the department to share that information with any particular company, then they will write you to share it. So that's honoring the privacy. You cannot publish anything just simply because that you prepared it. I may have a result of 100 students with me, right? But I cannot publish it there in States. So same way, you if you are an HR head and you have appraisal of 100 people working under you, you have no right to share the appraisal of any one person with the other, right? You may have noted down the weaknesses, strengths of 100 individuals under you, but you need to respect the confidentiality and privacy of the employees who are reporting to you, for whom you have prepared the report for. That is another principle. Lastly, choosing the right time and place. So this is the responsibility of the communicator to decide, is it the right time to share this information, and is the right platform or the place as well. So this is the fourth and another foremost principle. But if I have to put or give one word to the ethical communication, I would say honesty, integrity. These are the two important words. If one is honest, he will not make any such mistake where he is breaching the privacy or not talking to the person or the audience in his or her understandable language, or he would also or she would also honor the time and place, everything. So if you are honest and sincere in your approach in communication, you are not supposed to be making a mistake there, right? So I would say the most important principle of ethical communication is honesty. As I said, most reliable and factual way possible should be adopted, that I should be communicating the most reliable factual information and the way it is possible, the best way it is possible, so that I do not share anything which is confusing or misleading. I should not be. So that's how I am practicing ethical communication, right? So now the last thing I want to discuss is, so ethical communication in any organization, what does it actually demand for? So if you have to practice, so these are the tips to follow ethical communication at any workplace. Be truthful and honest. As I said, if I have to put all these points in ranking order, I would put honesty, truthfulness at the top, right? So that's how I say, be truthful and honest to the people you are sharing or talking to. It's not only the talking to, even in your written communication, in your non-verbal communication, right? So we have to be ethical. Active listening is also important. So communication, as we know, is not all about speaking or writing. So there are two people involved, there are two parties involved, sender and the receiver. So if sender has certain responsibilities in communication, the receiver has equal role to play, right, if not more than that, and that is active listening. So if the receiver is listening actively, it is ethical communication. The third thing which one should be following is, we should be speaking non-judgmentally. So judgments are very, very hazardous, very, very painful if we carry in our mind. So if we are speaking something, we need to keep our judgment. We should not be assuming something. We should not be judgmental about a person basis on the looks, basis on the gender, basis on the religion, कि सारे people from this particular states are like this. हम एज्यूम करते हैं एक पर्टिकुलर स्टेट के लोग ऐसे होंगे, एक पर्टिकुलर कास्ट के लोग ऐसे होंगे, एक पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन और एरिया के लोग ऐसे होंगे, मार्केटिंग डिपार्टमेंट के सारे मार्केटिंग वाले गप्पे मारते होंगे, सेल्स वाले सारे के सारे झूठ बोलते होंगे. ये जजमेंट्स हैं, राइट? We should not be having those judgments in our mind. Whenever we are speaking or writing, we should keep those judgments aside, and then we should look at the required information objectively. That's how we make the communication effective, right? One need to speak from the experience only. If let's say, for times when I ask my office staff, what happened in that particular class, they will say students were saying this. So about XYZ person, or so they are talking about on behalf of someone else. They are not talking on behalf of themselves. What happened to you? You are answerable for that. Don't try to answer anything or furnish any information basis upon the experience of others. That's wrong. So because somebody has some experience, right? He or she may not have been able to express you the correct and the factual information by intention or by mistake, or simply by inability to communicate. So how can you take that information, that piece of information, and make or speak on that behalf? No, you should not be. That is unethical. Speak basis on your own experience. So हम कहते हैं कि लोग ऐसा करते हैं, आधे लोग झूठे हैं. How can you say that? आधे लोग झूठे, ये बड़ी कॉमन स्टेटमेंट है. सारे यहाँ पर कामचोर हैं, ये बहुत कॉमन स्टेटमेंट है. Why? How can you say so? Is this your experience that you see people not walking? Is this your experience that you found people? Then you can see that. But simply somebody is saying and you just copied it, you followed it, and you are also repeating the same thing. This is unethical, and this is not required in any organization. And also it's important that we consider the preferred mode of communication channel for the receiver. I am dealing with elderly people. Let's say I am in charge in an insurance company which is taking care of, I am looking after the vertical which is pertaining to ex-employees of different corporates, right? Let's say my father retired from Punjab National Bank, and a company, an employee dealing with all those employees who retired from PNB, same way some other company, and so on. Now, those elderly people they do not want, or they are not so comfortable through email. So if any communication comes to them through email, they may not open it for months, or they may not have email at all. Quite possible. I have seen it actually, right? My own experience I am speaking from. So certainly for a very elderly people of 70-80 years who have never used computers before, who do not have even email, or if email is there, that email belongs to their grandchildren or so on. So certainly we know that that is not a preferred means or channel of communication. So if you use that particular channel, you know in the back of your mind that this communication may not reach to him or her. If it does, he or she not be able to open the attachment in PDF and so on, right? It means this was unethical from your part if you have communicated with such an old person through email, sending an attachment, reminder, whatever. So this is unethical. So we need to know. So for an elderly person, the preferred channel could be a phone call. Simply pick up a phone call, make a visit, pay a visit, and then explain. So this is this is how you can make communication ethical, effective at your workplace. And then as a listener, you should strive to understand. It's not the responsibility only of the speaker, the person, the sender, that he or she should make you understand. You should indulge in reading or listening to the person and give patient hearing. Spend good time should be spent to understand what has been said. So you should at least strive to understand, right? So if you strive to understand, and after that if you have any query, then you can get back. But if you fail to understand simply because you did not pay attention, what is written. You did not read between the lines. The mail coming to you from your head of the department clearly says the meeting is at this time, at this in this room. So if you have read it, and उसके बाद आप फोन उठाकर पूछ रहे हैं सर मीटिंग कितने बजे है, कौन से कमरे में है? Why? Because you are just not keen to open the mail even, or the notice about the meeting even. So you fail to strive to understand simply because you do not intend to understand. Okay? Then avoid a negative tone. Another effort what an employee can do in a business is they can avoid negative tone and can make the communication effective ethically, because negative tone anyways doesn't lead to effective communication. So a negative tone certainly is going to lead to ineffective communication and unethical as well. And as a listener, as a second part, or as a receiver of the information, let people complete what they are saying. Do not interrupt them in between, so that they could complete what they want to, they could complete their message. So non-interruption, practice of non-interruption is also very, very important, and that's how we can make effective communication ethical, which is ethically correct. So these were the few tips for which you can follow in a business to make ethical, effective communication. I will take this last example and then I will wind up. So example says that an organization furnishing a local area with notice of unsettling influences which might occur in their space and reacting to any emergency rapidly and genuinely, right? On a relational level, moral correspondence includes being straightforward and straightforward, nothing else. So if you are working in a company which is dealing in hazardous products, products which are dangerous to the environment, to the human being, and you have to give some warning sign to some local area, okay, tomorrow we will be releasing this gas at this moment of time, or we will be releasing water in any of the local water body which may cause problem in the water for these many hours. So be straightforward. So these are the examples of ethical communication. If we clearly says, that this is the probable outcome of this action we are going to take as a company, certainly that is an ethical communication. So there are certain examples of ethical communication. Businesses which practice that, they are respected in the business world, in the economy. Business who do not, they are not. So with this, I will like to wind up. I hope you could get what is ethical communication, what are advantages, disadvantages of ethical communication, what are the principles to make ethical communication. This was the agenda, and I hope I fulfilled the objective of the session. Thank you very much, friends, being with me. Thanks.